intensely you feel hunger is largely genetic, so especially people who suffer from food noise, a constant urge to eat, feel a huge psychological relief from the drug. Finally, their body stops screaming at them. Suddenly, you're dieting without expending willpower, without really thinking about it. It feels magically effortless. By changing your biology, a drug changed your behavior. But, is this a good thing? Miracle drugs.
So I think this overview of GLP-1, like most of KurzGesagt videos, was excellent. The way that he touches on the different aspects of it. It is true that you may have some minor side effects like nausea and other ones, but nausea is not going to cause you diabetes. It's not going to cause you heart issues. It's not going to cause you brain issues and all of the things that come from that fog, vascular issues and even maybe your kidneys. And it safeguards against all of that, against a lot of that, against the loss of self-confidence. You gain your self-confidence back as you lose weight. That's what various people experience. And I really think these drugs have been an absolute miracle. I haven't used them personally because I was already fairly skinny before they even came out. My lifestyle habits were fairly disciplined with regards to food. But I think that is helping a lot of people. I think it's going to be an equalizer because, as he says, there is a genetic component, he believes, and I think studies have shown, to how hungry you get and therefore how obese you become. It's possible to track certain genes, I suppose, and those genes cluster. The people who possess them tend to show these behaviors. And we are offering now a solution to something which may be partly a genetic disease. We're often offering them a solution through medication. And I think that that can be great for society. If we can have an equalizing between these different people, I think that will be good. There's so many things that are genetic, so much longevity, so much of the way we lead our lives. And there's a great inequality with respect to the genes that people possess. And a lot of our cultural efforts have been to equalize it. It's like the diabetes that you get genetically. There's a type of diabetes where your body just cannot produce insulin. So you take an insulin shot. And it is a solution, medicated solution to a genetic disease, which greatly expands the life expectancy of the people who have this genetic issue because they will otherwise pass very quickly and it wouldn't be good for them. And I think this GLP-1 is one example of that. I have met several people who have used it and who have shown great benefits with it. I think Tim Dillon talks about it. I'm not sure if he's used it himself, but a lot of people have used it very successfully. And as he even points out in the video, there may be benefits, potential benefits to people who aren't obese. The great longevity guru, who's a billionaire basically, who sold Braintree Vamo, he created Vamo, Brian Johnson, he uses GLP-1 because he's a longevity maxer, so he uses a very small dose of it because of some positive effects it has shown preemptively, kind of, it's not fully proven, but there is evidence that it has some cardiovascular benefits that are on top of the weight loss, right? They're additional. And also cognitive benefits, cognitive preservation and delay of Alzheimer's disease, and also other effects. Of course, the results apparently are not conclusive yet. It's not 100% sure and certain that the drug caused these benefits. But, Brian Johnson's an experimental guy. He's experimenting these different stuff to improve his biomarkers. And I am for chemistry. I am for these things. I think they do create a lot of problems. I think these several drugs that have been touted to us do cause problems. They do have side effects. And they don't help all the people they were supposed to help. And there are mistakes that are made along the way. But then again, I like nature. I like being naturalistic. I like trying to go, kind of like going back to the roots of humanity and going back to nature, going a little bit in a hippie style. But then again, I also do recognize that, these things can help us immensely. Just washing our hands before we delivered babies saved how many people? Tons and tons and tons of people, tons and tons of babies. The development of soap, detergent, all of these things, they basically halve the child mortality. So I cannot say that, nature is so perfect that we ought not to change it. I don't know if we can say that, because development of fire and several other things were innovations that human beings brought about, technological innovation. And does technological innovation bring a lot of sorrow to humanity? It absolutely does. You can be sure that it does. And we all know of examples of where it does. Social media, the internet, it brought several bad effects on the people. There's evidence that it disrupted the formation of relationships, the formation of marriage. the increased urbanization of society, where people are living in urban centers and abandoning the rural areas because the rural areas are just being dominated by tractors and automated, everything about harvest and agricultural production is being automated, so there are less jobs and people move out of there and go to the urban centers in order to do bureaucratic jobs and knowledge work, or maybe even manufacture stuff, manual labor, but still centered around the cities and industrial capacity. And the abandoning of rural areas, of course, also reduce fertility, because there's great evidence that being in urban centers will lower your fertility tremendously. That's why Japan and South Korea have such low fertility, because they're partly the most urban societies in the world. So, of course, there are several downsides to all of it, but then there are also benefits. And I think that's almost inevitable, because as you create a new environment, naturally, some organisms are going to be more adapted to it. And the organisms who are well suited to the previous environment will, of course, have difficulty in this new one. And there will be a great burden of adaptation put upon them. And I don't know to which extent that can be avoided for as long as our environment is the way it is. And will it revert to what it was before? I don't know. A transcendence that maybe took us to where it was before is probably not going to be exactly like it was before. There are going to be some changes. There's going to be some memory of what it was like before. And the culture is going to change as a consequence of that, with regards to what it was back then before all of this ever happened. And we don't know which stable configuration is going to make society really the future society. There's the Amish, of course, reject all of it, and they try to live as faithfully as they can to tradition and to the way things used to be. So they may be more sheltered from some of the negative impacts of some of these movements. But I really think that we just ought to watch these changes and embrace some of them when they suit us, and of course reject the ones that we think are harmful. I hope this message was valuable. I hope that this clip that I showed and my analysis of it was worth something to you today. And if it was, I'd like you to subscribe so that you can help us here. Leave a like, leave a comment down below, some feedback, and I'll be sure to see you next time. Take it easy. Peace. Have a blessed day.